Good afternoon, Professor.
Hi.
Good, how are you doing? Sorry about the confusion. Wasn't sure about the Zoom meeting.
Okay. So go ahead. You have questions.
Yes, just wanted to get some clarity on the assignment as well as our interaction on the LinkedIn as well. So I was not clear what's the project on the LinkedIn and the stuff.
Okay, for the LinkedIn, let's start with that. The LinkedIn is, the objective is that you start filtering and accepting, understanding, and posting articles, news, situations, whatever that has to do with our course. So you join these groups. For instance, right now, the euro is in parity with the dollar, right? There's a whole bunch of news in the media regarding this. You select some, you post it, that's it. And yes, you would post at least one article or two a week, right? And that's the minimum. The whole point is that we have some sort of a common understanding and common, if you make dialogue of what's happening out there in the financial markets, in the FX markets, in the global trade markets, or anything else. It need not be an article from a newspaper. It could be something you read that's relevant to our course, and so on and so forth. So that's what that is, right? So you're a LinkedIn member. Yes, you joined the group. Yes, there's more than one group. Sure, if something is more relevant, it's relevant to our course, but it's also more relevant to another. Like it's more macroeconomics, it's more corporate, finance or whatever. Then you might post it in the other group as well. It's not a problem. The whole point is that yes, you don't just gloss over the news, but you're actually
you're participating in it there.
But yes, you read the articles, you take a critical position, maybe with a brief introduction. This is what this is, again, euro dollar parity. This means that the dollar is stronger. This probably is going to have some ramifications in the oil, and which is already high and whatnot. And yes, it's whatever. So then here's an article that relates to it. Boom, that's it. So that's the LinkedIn.
Okay,
It can take, in other words, an awful lot of time out of your busy schedule, but it should, if you, maybe you've done it, maybe you're doing it already, but this is where you start at least, or at least you continue. If you're doing this already, if you're already, very much in tune with what's happening out there, we have a problem. If you're not, well, this is where you start having it, right? You start reading the newspaper with a specific objective. Oh, let's read that. It's a different situation, and you'll see it in a different way when you're just reading the news or just glossing over the news. Oh, because it's the news, and it's a different thing. Okay, can I find something that's relevant, right? So that's I think an interesting project. Again, it's more behavioral than actual, oh, do you know what this or that is? It's more to get your perspective and the understanding. So that's what that project is.
Got you. And for the discussion question.
So the discussion question. So each week we're going to have a few discussion questions. Were you able to find them in the?
Yes.
Okay, good.
The trade is important. That is in chapter 2.
Yes. So basically, they're probably going to, most likely, they're going to refer someplace, a vignette or some page or some concept that is discussed and explained in the textbook. And again, you read what's in the textbook. You read that business case, maybe a mini business case, and then you express your opinion on that. And then, yes, you come back the same week, hopefully, because even if not the same week, at a later time. And frankly, yes, you can wait even until a later week. I'm not going to take away from your grade if you're discussing discussion question number 1 in week 2, 3, whatever. But if you're leaving it for the last moment, as unfortunately many students still will decide to do, if you're even though this is an MBA course, if you're leaving it for the, and I'm not talking about you, Kair, I'm recording this and this is going to be posted in our lesson. So if you're leaving it for the last moment, it's going to be impossible to do it, right? Period. But if you do, every week, yes. And yes, I'm flexible. You can't do, maybe a week is busier than another one, that's fine. You just answer it, you catch up, in other words. And that's what it is. And in other words, you post your opinion, first of all, a nice little paragraph, and then after you read what your fellow students have written, you reply to them. And reply, ideally, I want a reply that's more than, oh, great, great presentation, or this presentation sucks. It doesn't. No, more critical, more analytical, more, yes, this is good because of this reason, the other reason, and hey, maybe this and that could be further explained.
Gotcha.
Right? And maybe in other words, you can even pose a question to your fellow student who would then have to reply with. You say, yes, we have some sort of a discussion. So that's the discussion boards and items. And then we have a whole bunch of material, each unit that need to be read, right? Not everything is on Blackboard, right? You're going to see more stuff into Blackboard. So you'll see more presentations. Yes, you will see some business cases, but what's going to be delivered pretty much is on Blackboard. So the assignments are pretty much, or you'll see them as and again in the same structure as the first module. That's where you'll see the assignments. And yes, so that's that one part. And then there's another project as well I would like to talk about, and that's the Owanda project, right? Owanda is a foreign exchange platform. It's a professional platform. If you were handling the international strategy or the FX strategy, or if you were, let's say, the treasurer in charge of, or part of your responsibility was the, let's say, hedging, buying foreign currency, selling foreign currency, you name it, all that, right? Or should we open a store here? Should we not open I'm talking, should we enter this new market, international or another one? All this, Owanda would give you tools in terms of exactly the FX market. So it is a professional tool that you'll have a hands-on appreciation, hopefully, and understanding. Some of you, because it is a Ferrari, it's a very good, that's very robust type of a platform. Some of you can really take it out for a spin, if you may, right? Yes, but that's not really the entire, in other words, I'll be happy and satisfied simply, or you would get an A, if you may, from that perspective for that project, if you, of course, develop your own profile in Owanda, start monitoring and looking at a few, 4 or 5, whatever I say there, or even more, whatever, right? A few currency pairs, euro dollar, Canadian dollar, US dollar, Mexican peso, US dollar, renminbi, Chinese, or rupee, US dollar, or other currencies among themselves as well. It doesn't have to be for US dollar, right? Yes. So you monitor them for the 8 weeks that you are together, and you create a narrative, a perspective, in other words, of why, what's the situation that you're in other words, yes, you're going to take a role, take on, if you may, right? You're going to pretend that you are, I don't know, an FX hedging person, and you are working for an exporter, right? Or whatever your narrative you would like and you feel comfortable with. And this export, they're exporting what? I don't know, they're exporting from the United States, they're exporting some industrial products to Canada and to Europe. And they also buy some stuff or have some software development in India, whatever. So you make this up, right? Let's say that you're that, okay? Then what would you do in these 8 weeks? Oh, maybe I would be hedging. Hedging, what does that mean? I would, in other words, be seeing, right, what sort of activities I have, right? So one is activity hedging. We're going to be talking about this extensively throughout the course. But of course, because you'll be playing with a wand all along, when we talk about it at, I don't know, week 5, 6, whatever it is, this will be second nature for you. That's the objective of this. So in other words, for instance, I'll give you a classic example, a transactional type of a hedging. You know that a month from now, you have a 1 million euro payment, right? That comes from this stuff, whatever it is, that you're shipping from the United States to Europe right now. And you want, in that 1 month time, right? You want not to have any mishap to happen to you in terms of the FX currency. Let's say that last month, right? Last month, you had the same thing. So in other words, you were sold to Europe 1 million euros worth of stuff, right? And today you have the payment. Fantastic. You were hoping that you were going to get something between 1.1, 1.2, in other words, $1,200,000. But no, you're only getting $1 million today.
Understand.
No, I don't know what business are you in?
I'm in project management. Yeah.
So tell me, what's your markup margin? Is it 20%?
The markup margin, we are in service.
I don't want to push words in you.
Yeah, no, the service industry doesn't have 20%. Yeah.
It's a lot of, you know,
Yes, right.
from a margin, but yes, there's some businesses that have it 50, 60, you know, yes, they are. Amazon, you name it. Yes, they are. But typically we're talking about a lot more compressed margins. And yet we just saw that you would have basically been burnt out if you had not taken this foreign currency risk off the table. So that's one perspective that I want you to be looking at. Oh, this is what I am. And you know, you can be many, many roles. So the FX markets are basically the greatest, the largest financial markets in the world are the foreign currency markets, right? About a difference of several magnitudes from the bond market, which you say, or from the stock market, which is even smaller than the bond market. Right. So that's in terms of the magnitude. So because everything that we buy and sell is in one denomination or in another. So that's why. So all this economic activity has this FX risk. So we need to understand it. We need to understand what sort of techniques we would have to protect against the fluctuation of the FX currency. And that's it. That's what that project is all about. Yes, at the end of the semester, you would show to me a spreadsheet where you show that, yes, here I am, week 1, and this is where the various currencies were, and you've been monitoring it. Now, I'm not saying, you know, moment to moment. I'm saying maybe once a week you would show week 1, this is where the currencies were, week 2, this is where the currencies were, and so on and so forth, right? For the 8 weeks. And then you would tell to me briefly what sort of a narrative you have. You're an exporter, you're an importer, you're a central bank, this is your perspective. And this is what the actionable stuff that I did. And then maybe even if you really go into Wanda and you deal with these tools that the Wanda gives you, maybe even how exactly you have set up, let's say, a transactional hedge. Things like what I just described. you know, or another situation, triangular arbitrage, right? You're a speculator, so you have the Indian rupee, right, trading to the US dollar at a certain currency, and then trading to the euro at a certain currency, right? Yes. So when you buy euros with rupees, and then dollars with euros, and then rupees again back with dollars, you do that triangle. In other words, you go that route, you get X amount of rupees. But if you go the other direction, right? In other words, you buy US dollars first, then you convert it to euros, then you convert this into rupees, and this is instantaneously, right? This happens instantaneously. When you do the one route versus the other route, well, you have a difference. Typically would be that they balance out, right? That there's no profit to be made, but sometimes there is arbitrage to be made. And that's the sort of situation that you're looking for. Now, of course, it's highly unlikely that you'll see this. And when it does happen, but it happens within a matter of milliseconds. We're talking about billions of dollars that are being transacted. When such an opportunity arises, there are financial institutions out there that, of course, take advantage of this and create this riskless money, right? End up with a lot more rupees at the end, or a few, but with no additional risk, right? So it's an arbitrage, no additional risk, and yet they're having more. So that's sort of an analysis. So some sort of an analysis that has to do with FX currencies, or I'll give you another example, economic FX exposure. I'm not a specific 1 million euro transaction that I'm covering. You can answer if you want to.
No, it's interesting.
Okay, so you can in other words have that 1 million transaction, but you could also have an overall economic exposure or operational exposure. In other words, you have, I don't know, a division in this country. Let's say US and Canada, right? So you have Canadian activity and sales that happen in the Canadian loonie and the Canadian dollar and that currency. And you also have then the goods that you're selling there from the same company, because that's a division of the US company. Well, they're actually in the US, right? So therefore you have this sort of economic exposure now, not just a transaction. Oh yes, it's based on many transactions, but it's really an economic exposure. We have, you know, stores there, we have distribution network there, we're selling stuff there. We even make some of the components, that, right? However complication you want. But the point is that then you're not having simply a transaction against which you are trying to cover your overall cash flow against this fluctuation, an unfavorable fluctuation of the FX, but you're trying to cover the overall economic activity against the same FX fluctuation. So again, you know, a different idea, different setup, but still practically the same tools. In other words, you would buy maybe a future, right? A future contract, or you would buy an option, right? That is going to give you that 1 million euro to come to the first transactional one a month from now. So therefore, a month for all, you would have an agreement, a contract with a bank, right? With your FX business broker. In other words, you would have a forward contract with them, by which you would in detail show, you know, delineate what exactly you're covered. But again, the same function of the future contract or the option. So in other words, you have the right to buy euros at today's price, or to whatever forward price is stated today a month from now. And in that way, you know that a month from now, this is the amount of US dollars now, because that's what you're worried about. You're worried about getting your money back in US dollars, right? Yes.
Right. Got you. Okay. And that would be a project that will be submission at the end of the last week?
Yes. So in other words, it starts now. You have to put your, you have to, again, we can do a crash thing the night before and whatnot. It's
it doesn't work.
Am I not going to give you an A grade? That's not the point. Here you are to learn.
Right. Absolutely.
When you understand that, and when you understand that this is the professor that you got, then maybe you'll start to behave differently. I'm not just saying you, Didi, I'm saying for the entire class.
Yeah, no, I understand.
The entire class has an A+. It's up to you to maintain it. I'm here to give as many A+, and I'm here to teach you, most importantly, international economics and finance, and to push you in ways in which you are going to absorb this stuff, which is important stuff. Why? Because our economy is becoming a lot more globalized, yes, but also a lot more regionalized. In other words, we are going beyond that honeymoon of the 20, 30 years where everything was great. And it was great, right? After, in other words, the fall of the Berlin Wall and whatnot, we had some, some growth, prosperity in essence. Yes, with issues of rich and poor, yes. But now we are basically going, I think, in an era where we will have a lot more regionalization, a lot more also antagonism of one area with another area. Therefore, these issues will be a lot more significant, and you will see a lot more volatility, such as this euro dollar. This is a very big thing.
Right.
That the euro right now is in parity with the dollar.
Right.
It's a very big thing that we have inflation that we haven't seen in 40 years.
Right. Yeah, 9.some%. Yes.
Usually I tell my students that, especially, last a couple of semesters, when we were only 20 years, that, hey, you haven't seen this inflation in your lifetime. Now, Didi, I'm going to tell it, it's not even in your lifetime that we haven't seen this inflation. Right? Yes, or give or take. So, but you see what I'm saying? Yes, for 40
I get your point.
Very, very long time. So we live definitely in interesting times. We live in changing times, which means that we have to pump up our education, pump up the way that we understand the world. So yes, that's, if you may, what I'm trying to do here, what I'm expecting my students to do. Questions, Didi?
So the assignment is a format, you want it in a Word document or you want it in a PDF document? So
it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. So a Word is fine, PDF is fine. Try not to give it to me with a document that's laying out there on the internet, simply because oftentimes you will also have to have given me permission to access it. I'm going to try to go and access it. Then it won't open, and so on and so forth. So if you keep it simple, you just have it a simple assignment, not just you, did everybody else in class, a simple attachment to an email, that will work. Right, a Word document, a PDF document, yes. And in terms of the Oanda project, and this is true for all of our assignments. So you either have a space there in Blackboard and you can answer that right then and there, or you email me that. And in terms of the Oanda, yes, I would like you to have at least one page. In your case, Didi, 3 pages of
I'll do my best to give you good quality.
Analysis, right? Yes. In other words, give me at least one paragraph of what's your perspective, and then one paragraph, what sort of, or more, what sort of analysis, why do you pick these and not other currency pairs? And thirdly, what sort of, okay, so this is where they've been, this is where they're going. Well, what does that mean? Are you going to have some hedging? And what sort of tools are we going to be using specifically? And have you actually not just monitored the Wanda, but actually gone in there in your mock page? In your mock page, do not link your bank account, even though it's going to ask you. Do not link your bank account, right? Yes, yes. If you do, I've told you not to. I'm not going to be held liable. Yes. You lose a lot of money from this. Yes. So have you also gone there and therefore, or seen the webinars that it has in terms of, again, futures and options and other stuff like that, you may purchase through participating vendors and whatnot and all that. Yes, that's a bit advanced, but you know, it's out there, you can do it, right? Yes. So that's that project. And,
I went into the link. I got to the page, then I wasn't sure what exactly was the ask, so I did not go any further from there. So I want to go to your part first.
Okay. Oh yeah. So in other words, familiarize yourself with Oanda. Go in. It also has some webinars and some. You know, it has many modules where you teach us. It teaches you about the website. I've also added at that assignment at the end of it, I've also some YouTube videos or whatnot that explain to you what Oanda is and what sort of functions it has and all that. What frankly, can you use Oanda? Can we use another FX? Yes, if you want to, you can use it. If you're more familiar with another foreign currency, and I'm not talking about you only, DD, I'm talking about the class as well. If you're more familiar, let's say of fx.com or whatever, of another platform, that's fine. What I'm looking for is that exactly you are monitoring the foreign currency pairs through time, that you have a specific perspective, and that you understand that, oh, this is why I'm monitoring. I'm monitoring because in 1 month from now or 2 weeks from now, whatever, and every 2 weeks, let's say, I'm selling X amount of this product to this other, or making X amount of sales, or I'm buying this stuff, right? It could be that way. I'm buying this stuff. Therefore, I want to know what my cost is. I want to know what my revenue is. I want to secure that I have at least that, you know, that margin. So that's it.
Right. And then on the syllabus, when I was looking at the syllabus, there's a test at the end. So that is the last.
Yes, there will be an additional test. Yes.
Right. And do we need to get the Connect access for the
book?
Oh,
the Connect access is there is a Connect course associated with the session, but it's optional. I'm not making you to buy it. In other words, you can get away, frankly, with simply renting the textbook for X amount of time. Accessing the textbook is right. Or even an older version of it, if that's yes, that's also acceptable. But you will need it because many of the discussions will refer to the textbook, and you'll need to read from the textbook the material. Yes.
Right. You know, I rented it, so I wasn't sure what test maybe I needed to get.
No, that's good. That's good. Okay. Yes. And frankly, there'll be between the Oanda and between you know, other, I'm going to put some business cases and whatnot that are optional and all that, but between all that material, you'll be more than covered in terms of, and in a graduate level, frankly, versus the Connect, which it's a great tool, but it's more like an undergraduate basic knowledge type of a tool. You know, read the
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes. And
Great.
of course, I don't need to reiterate this, but of course, everything that we do is open book, open notes, open everything, right? Because life is open book.
Yeah.
Because yes, when your boss tells you do this, DD, figure out the FX strategy for you. You're not gonna. He's not gonna tell you, but God forbid you open your textbook, right? Yes.
Yeah. You want us to be creative. You want us to be creative.
Absolutely.
Great.
All right.
Really appreciate
Any other
it,
questions?
Professor. Thank you. And this helps me, guides me.
Okay.
I'll do my best to post my first post today. So
excellent. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Right.